Colonial Pact. This is simply an agreement 14 African leaders had to sign in order to be allowed to gain independence from their colonial master France. It is very important that we learn these aspects of history as they're necessary for us to know what we're fighting for. Please, I encourage you to like this video, share with your friends, and ensure you subscribe to the channel. Smash the notification bell to be among the first to watch our new videos when we post them. So, let's see the content of the Colonial Pact as proposed by France, without which none of these 14 African countries would ever be free from France. But are they really free even after signing the pact in question? Let's briefly highlight some other deceptive contents of the Colonial Pact that has kept 14 African nations down for decades. 1. Colonial debt for the benefits of France colonization. The newly independent countries should pay for the infrastructure built by France in the country during colonization. This is mainly because at earlier stages, like the time when Sékou Touré of Guinea decided in 1958 to get out of French colonial empire, and opted for the country independence, the French colonial elite in Paris got so furious, and in a historic act of fury, the French administration in Guinea destroyed everything in the country which represented what they called the benefits from French colonization. 2. Automatic confiscation of national reserves. The African countries should deposit their national monetary reserves into France's central bank. France has been holding the national reserves of 14 African countries since 1961: Benin, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Togo, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, Brazzaville, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon. The African countries don't have access to that money. France allows them to access only 15% of the money in any given year. If they need more than that, they have to borrow the extra money from their own 65% from the French treasury at commercial rates. 3. Right of first refusal on any raw or natural resource discovered in the country. France has the first right to buy any natural resources found in the land of its ex-colonies. It's only after France would say, "I'm not interested," that the African countries are allowed to seek other partners. 4. Priority to French interests and companies in public procurement and public bidding. In the award of government contracts, French companies must be considered first, and only after that these countries could look elsewhere. It doesn't matter if the African countries can obtain better value for money elsewhere. As consequence, in many of the French ex-colonies, all the major economical assets of the countries are in the hand of French expatriates. In Côte d'Ivoire, for example, French companies own and control all the major utilities: water, electricity, telephone, transport, ports, and major banks. The same in commerce, construction, and agriculture. 5. Exclusive right to supply military equipment and train the country military officers. Through a sophisticated scheme of scholarships, grants, and defense agreements attached to the Colonial Pact, the Africans should send their senior military officers for training in France or French-ran training facilities. The situation on the continent now is that France has trained hundreds, even thousands of traitors and nourished them. They are dormant when they are not needed, and activated when needed for a coup or any other purpose. 6. Right for France to pre-deploy troops and intervene military in the country to defend its interests. Under something called defense agreements attached to the Colonial Pact, France had the legal right to intervene militarily in the African countries, and also to station troops permanently in bases and military facilities in those countries, run entirely by the French. 7. Obligation to make French the official language of the country and the language for education. A French language and culture dissemination organization has been created called Francophonie, with several satellites and affiliates organizations supervised by the French Minister of Foreign Affairs. 8. Obligation to use France colonial money FCFA. This is the real milk cow for France, but it's such an evil system even denounced by the European Union, but France is not ready to move from that colonial system which puts about $500 billion from Africa to its treasury. 9. Obligation to send France annual balance and reserve report. Without the report, no money. Anyway, the Secretary of the Central Banks of the ex-colonies, and the Secretary of the biannual meeting of the Ministers of Finance of the ex-colonies is carried out by France's Central Bank, Treasury. 10. Renunciation to enter into military alliance with any other country unless authorized by France. African countries in general are the ones with less regional military alliances. Most of the countries have only military alliances with their ex-colonizers. Funny, but you can't do better. In the case France ex-colonies, France forbid them to seek other military alliance except the one it offered them. Now that you've learnt the content of France's colonial pact, a tool it has used to keep its former colonies on their knees, created stunted growth in their economies, how does this make you feel?